Hi, and welcome to today's reflections, which are for all ages. So if you have children and young people living in the house, please, I'd encourage you to just pause the video and go and invite them to listen along with you. I want to start by asking a question. What makes you sad? What makes you sad? If you're sitting listening with someone, perhaps tell each other. If you're on your own, perhaps just voice it out loud. Whatever, but what makes you sad? For me, right now, it's not being able to touch and to hug my two grandsons. And for many of you, that will be the same sadness. But for others of you, it may be something else. Here's another question. What makes you happy? Again, if you're listening with someone, tell them, just think yourself, what makes you happy? I think for me, what makes me happy at the moment is when I see acts of kindness going on in the local community. Just tell each other, what makes you happy? Then another question. What excites you? What excites you? That may be a struggle at the moment. For me, it's the thought of being able to get to the hairdressers as soon as possible. But what excites you? And then the last question. What scares you? What scares you? I suppose, in many ways, if I'd have asked you that question a few weeks ago, your answer will probably be quite different from what it may well be today. What scares you? You see, we all have lots of different emotions, and it's part of being a human being, I suppose. And just now, well, we may well be experiencing a whole range of emotions that we didn't even know existed. Wendy, in her devotions a few days ago, touched on this a little bit. Holy Week, which we're beginning today, is traditionally a time of mixed emotions. But some of you might be thinking that this year is going to be pretty emotionless. Empty, perhaps, a bit like my piece of paper here. But maybe, just maybe, it will be full of meaning, maybe more than ever. So let's see. Today, Palm Sunday, we'll do what we usually do and map out the way ahead for Jesus, and I'll be doing that. But I'm going to try also and tell you the whole story so that you can see how it all fits together. So the first part of the story comes from a place where there's a lot of desert, where nothing much ever happens. But actually quite a lot can happen in a desert. And it was in the desert that Jesus went when he was about 30 years old to be alone with his Father God, to think through, who am I going to be? What am I going to be? And that's what happened in the desert. And during that time, Jesus was tempted by God's enemy, the devil. Do this, do that, he said, prove that you are God's son. But Jesus resisted. No, I'm not going to do that. Well, anyway, 3 years later, after Jesus had travelled all around, healing people, telling stories, brilliant stories, teaching people, performing miracles, not magic, miracles, and telling everyone how much his Father God loved them, well, all those temptations started to come back. And as Jesus was coming into Jerusalem, the big city, well, there were lots of people there waving palm leaves and saying, "Hey, Jesus is here. Hosanna, the King is here." Do you remember the star in the Christmas story? The star that was a sign that a new king would reign. Well, a lot of people thought Jesus was that king, and he was. But when Jesus rode into Jerusalem, he didn't do what most people expected him to do and start fighting the Romans and taking over as a powerful king. No. Jesus went straight to the big temple, the church, where he found people buying and selling things inside as if it was some sort of marketplace. And Jesus started turning over, knocking over the tables in the temple. And he said, "This is my Father's house, and you have made it a den of thieves." A lot of people don't think Jesus ever got cross. Well, he did that day. Anyway, a few days later, Jesus went with his disciples, his special friends, to a big house. And they went up the side of the house to the upper room. And it was there that they had what we call the Last Supper, the last meal together. Later that evening, they went to a garden to pray. And it was while they were there that Jesus was arrested. His enemies played with him, a bit like a cat plays with a mouse before killing it. They kicked him. They punched him. They spat on him. They dressed him up like a clown and laughed at him. And then finally, they got the Romans to crucify him on a cross. It was the Roman way of killing somebody very slowly and very painfully. And it was pretty horrible. And at the side of Jesus were guards with sharp spears, just making sure that nobody staged a rescue attempt. But of course nobody did. Most of Jesus' friends had run away, scared. So the guards relaxed and they took out some dice. "Who's going to have his clothes?" they said. "I know, first person to throw a double six, they can have them." And as people walked past, laughing and joking, Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they're doing." At one point, Jesus said, "Where have you gone, Father? I feel so alone." And then finally, Jesus said, "It's finished. Into your hands, Father, I give myself." And he died. Nobody should have to die like that. Anyway, a few of Jesus' bravest friends got together and went to the soldiers and said, "Can we have his body back?" The soldiers checked. Yes, he's dead. He's not going to be any trouble now. And so the friends of Jesus took the body and they wrapped it in cloths. And they took it down the road, out of the city walls, to a cemetery. And there in a sort of cave, a tomb, that's where they left the body of Jesus. And everybody thought that was the end. The day most of that happened is called Good Friday. Wasn't good for Jesus, was it? And it must have been a very, very long Saturday. But then, on the Sunday, very early in the morning, one or two of Jesus' bravest friends, who were women, not men, they came to the tomb to sort of clean up the body, give him a decent funeral. But when they got there, they found that the tomb was open. One of Jesus' friends, Mary Magdalene, not his mother, another Mary, she went in and then dashed out saying, "The body is gone. Somebody has stolen Jesus' body." And over there was someone who looked like a gardener, so she ran over, she grabbed him and she started shaking him, saying, "Where is the body of Jesus? What have you done with him?" The gardener told her to put him down. And then he pulled back his hood and he said, "Mary, it's me. I'm here." Mary went to grab him again, but Jesus said, "No. Go and tell the others, Mary. Tell them that everything's changed, that God's love is bigger than death. Tell them, Mary." And so she did. And they didn't believe her at first, but later they did. And I'm telling you now, God's love is bigger than death. I want to encourage you to hold on to that truth today and in the coming days. Bless you all. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your day.